match because I predict these things.
Gilbert Burns takes on Michael Morales this Saturday as the main event of UFC Fight Night. And this is a big step up in competition for Michael Morales, who's looked really good in his last few fights, 17-0, undefeated, on an absolute tear in the UFC. Only going to be getting bigger and better matchups as his career progresses, taking on Gilbert Burns in this one, who is 38 years old. So Morales is going to be 13 years younger. He's going to have a 2-inch height advantage and an 8-inch reach advantage. So on paper, this kind of looks like an uphill battle for Gilbert Burns, but he's just one of those guys you can never really count out. Been in the game for forever, been in the UFC since 2014, used to fight at 155 pounds, now back up at 170 pounds. On a 3-fight losing streak recently. Hard to really hold these against him, honestly, because it's Sean Brady, Jack Della Maddalena, and Bilal Muhammad, who are all very high-level fighters. His last win, though, was over George Masvidal 2 years ago. And then Neil Magny before that. Had a really good fight with Khamzat Chimaev back in 2022. Really good back-and-forth fight. Gave Khamzat probably the toughest test he's had to date. And all-around great fighter. You know, he's got heavy hands. He's big and strong. Elite grappler with, you know, really good submission ability, like world champ submission ability and jiu-jitsu skills. But Michael Morales is no slouch. Like I said, he's 25 years old. Went pro when he was 18. 17-0 right now. 6 foot 79-inch reach. So this will be his first 5-round main event. So curious to see how it kind of shakes out for him. Honestly, he's very fast and powerful, really good striker, good movement and utilization of his range, and his length against guys can kind of keep them at a range where they can't hit him, but he can obviously land against them. Lightning fast jab and really good calf kicks. Even lands them on people as they're coming in. Really kind of disrupts their rhythm or takes them off their feet, as we saw in his fight against Jake Matthews, but checks kicks very well. And good counter hooks as guys come in. High guard, pretty good defensively. Sometimes keeps his chin up a little bit in the air. We've seen him hit a few times. Was kind of rocked by Trevor Giles in the first round of their fight, but other than that, pretty good chin. Tough kid, feints really well. Really big for welterweight. Has kind of the perfect frame. 6 foot, pretty filled out. Not too big to where his cardio suffers. In terms of grappling, he has a 92% takedown defense. We've seen him taken down a few times in the UFC. Got taken down by Adam Fugit, got taken down by Trevor Giles, but was able to stay safe, get back up, and finish both of those fights. He started wrestling at the age of like 10 or 11, I think it was, and then transitioned to MMA in his teenage years. So he does come from a wrestling base, but primarily a striker. Like I said, had decent takedown defense against Magny. It is concerning that he immediately gave up his back against somebody like Magny. Whereas if you do that against Burns, I feel like he'd be able to capitalize a lot better than somebody like Magny. Adam Fugit, not really known for his wrestling ability, was able to get him down. He was able to kind of stay safe and get back up to his feet. And the same with Trevor Giles, more of a striker, was able to get the takedown. He was able to easily reverse and get back up to his feet. But if these guys are getting you down, I'm concerned of what Burns can do, honestly. So he has very good cardio, considering how aggressive he can be. In his last fight, his mouth was barely open. Dude was barely sweating. He's just very calm in there. Very calm and cerebral. Doesn't really let himself, even when he's in danger, gets taken down, takes some shots, doesn't really ever, show it or show that he's kind of out of it, so to speak. But I do think that Morales gets this one done, though. I am concerned. He does allow himself to get pressed along the cage. In a lot of his UFC fights, he's kind of the one being, pressed up behind the black line. So I'm worried that Burns will kind of be able to press forward and, keep Morales on the back foot, kind of mitigate his strikes and his power just because he's constantly having to backpedal. And maybe Burns can land his strikes moving forward, crash in with takedowns, tire him out potentially, get his ground game going, get the submission. Burns just has so much experience, so much more experience than him in the octagon as well. It's kind of concerning, but I do think Morales, I think he'll be able to defend the takedowns through 5 rounds with Burns. He's got really good cardio, like I said. Burns was starting to gas in round 3 of his fight with Jack Della Maddalena, but he also has a lot more 5-round experience, knows how to pace himself. Could potentially, take advantage as the fight goes from the 3rd to the 4th and 5th rounds. But I just see Burns struggling to get inside with his strikes and getting close enough to land his takedowns. I think Morales, he's just going to be, you know, a little bit more calm and composed every time we see him. He's only going to be making drastic improvements. Like I said, 25 years old. He's already got 17 fights under his name. I just think he'll be able to use his speed and reach to keep Burns at distance, kind of pick him apart, and eventually get the KO. Burns has kind of been chinny at times, was knocked out by Jack Della Maddalena, knocked out by Usman. He was knocked out by Dan Hooker a while back at 155 pounds. Morales, you know, he's going to be getting drastically better and making market improvements every time we see him at 25 years old, not even in his prime yet. Whereas Burns, I feel like every time we see him, he's going to be a little bit slower, a little bit more beat up, a little bit, you know, just older. You know, he's just slowly going to be going downhill at 38 years old, especially in a weight class like 170, where a lot of these guys are killers. They're athletic. You know, you can get away with being 38 at heavyweight in these bigger weight classes, but not really at welterweight. You know, I just think Morales is going to be looking better than we've ever seen him, and he's already got, you know, an excellent skill set. Already looks like a problem at 170 pounds, and he just has tons of momentum. 17-0, yet to lose. Had some decent fights in the UFC already. You know, Jake Matthews, Neil Magny, Max Griffin, Adam Fugit, Trevin Giles. Like, these are good guys. They're not Gilbert Burns, but they're still very good competition. He's gone to decisions. He's got his finishes. He's done, you know, he's had a decent amount of time in the octagon. It's not like he's coming off of first round, second round knockouts, and now he's going to have to potentially go to a 5-round war with Burns. He's been in, you know, some really good scraps for 3 rounds. So he's got, you know, he's shown his ability to at least go for 3 rounds and not look very bothered or tired while doing it. He's younger. He's going to be bigger, faster, stronger. You know, Burns is coming off of a shoulder injury. I think it was against, I think it was Bilal Muhammad. So, you know, you got that age factor. You don't know what kind of injuries does he still have lingering out there. Is he able to get through training camp still, you know, fully prepared and healthy? And coming off of a knockout about a year ago against Jack Della Maddalena, a really bad knockout, and just been in tons of wars. So I worry about his chin and being able to take the punches of Morales. So I'm going to go with Morales to get this one done. I think he gets it done by KO within the distance. Thanks.